Greetings, Invader Scum. This is Pincognito, aka Pinko, back with another episode of a half hour or so in the life of a finger. It's been about 6 months since I made one of these due to kind of my shift to streaming and some other types of videos I've been making, but I kind of wanted to return to form here. So this is Naj of the Path. He's my soul level 55 plus 6 faith build. I'm a follower of the Way of the White, so he uses all-powerful miracles like the Way of White Corona. Lightning infusions. I'll be using a bunch of different weapons, but here's one of my layouts. And the rings, pretty standard for me. Prisoner's Chain, Ring of Favor, plus 3, Untrue Dark Ring, Obscuring Ring. And yeah, you'll see one style of play that I didn't have at all in my game in the older videos is kind of the critical fishing, which you'll see me do occasionally. It's not something I do constantly, but it's definitely something I've kind of started to add to my game to try to add a little more fun and depth to the PvP. So we'll be doing Irithyll Dungeon, Profane Capital, Central Irithyll. And yeah, hope you enjoy, and let's get to it. First invasion is in the dungeon against the host, Lady Steve, and her phantom, Regular Steve. Now you're going to see me at the outset here use my Replenishment Miracle and the Thleonor Chime weapon art to get 2 sources of passive healing going before I've even encountered the party. The idea being I seldom have time to really use these in the heat of battle after I've already engaged, so I've started to experiment with using them before I even actually engage with the party. So I get a few R1s against the host, damage him a bit. As I see the gold coming up, I switch to the dagger to try to get a pivot stab. Now this is not like a perfectly executed pivot stab. I should have been running instead of walking, but I'm able to change direction fast enough to pivot to his back to execute the backstab. Here I make a really poor roll. Instead of rolling back through the phantom to use my iframes, I roll to the side, and I got myself in a lot of trouble, stuck against the wall. Here I drop down. The thought process at the time I recall was I thought I needed to heal safely. In retrospect, I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but I'm able to get out even though I think I was in a little bit of danger there. And I'm retreating because all the mobs down below were dead, and I want to get to a choke point, or I can engage the party again, which I find right here, and I'm ready to unleash hell. I hit the host with the sweet spot, the kind of the terminus point on the Way of White Corona, so he gets hit 3 times for a beautiful 150 damage. Here I'm able to get in on the gold and back out again before his attack can hit me. So I'm rolling out during my iframes. I kind of back up to get the mob support at my back. They wisely stay back because of the jailer. So I try to do some chip damage through my lightning urns, which do a ton of damage at this soul level in my faith level. Now I had not noticed that they had the shortcut open, and so I may have done more to try to prevent them from using it, but it's still fine. They still have to go through a ton of enemies to get to the next bonfire at this point. And I'm preparing for a drop attack. Use that sweet verticality, but the host is dead from the mobs before I ever get there. So the next invasion, we spawn on the other side of Irithyll Dungeon. You'll see we're using the loose urn this time. So we saw the password summon phantom take some damage right away, so we know there's at least a party of 2. So we have to be kind of cognizant of where everybody is. Kind of get a read on where the party's at right now. So I get my passive regen going. Can't see anybody. We hear someone healing. So I'm walking slowly to kind of try to minimize the sound of my footsteps, just to see if I can get a read on them if they're over here. We hear someone use the white branch, so we know someone is camouflaged. We know a trap is being set. The host kind of tries to bait me further in, backs off wildly towards the trap, almost certainly. Either behind the archway the white phantom is waiting, or he's camouflaged in the room. Host gets super careless approaching me, eats a full combo, then eats the chase down R1 as he tries to heal. Trap foiled. That was really just about getting a read on what they were trying to do in that invasion. So again, we spawn in Irithyll dungeon. And we spend a little time trying to find this party. You see some damage down below, which means they've already left this area, which I finally figure out. And they're making their way towards the giant. So I get down there as fast as I can, hoping to engage them in the hallway when they're fighting all these jailers. And at first I think I've succeeded. I'm going to have some mob support, but as soon as I approach the corner, I see that I'm in fact much too late. And I was expecting them to drop down by the giant. I was going to chase, maybe try to get a plunge attack, maybe just kind of surprise them with a backstab from behind, but they come back this way with some purpose. But I'm able to use, I think, some surprise there to try to go for the pivot backstab, but I screw it up. But they're still in hot pursuit, so I do the same thing again. This time I execute better. I still could do better with building up speed before doing the pivot, but that one worked out just fine. I'm able to remove the phantom immediately. Here I'm able to get the face tank parry. I think the host just kind of desperate. People do silly stuff like that when they think they're in danger. So I just killed his phantom, so the chances of like a sloppy play like that increase almost immediately against less experienced players. There I was expecting the hail parry, so I just delayed the R1 a little bit. Short and sweet. Got the dungeon again, spawning at the lower part of the level, and I've got the crescent axe, which I don't love, but it's not a bad weapon. It doesn't have like a combo like the Lucerne, but the war cry kind of makes the R2s pretty serviceable. It doesn't have those ridiculous spin to win R2s that a lot of the halberds have once you use the war cry. So I've just got this guy in a rolling panic, and I know if I just control my chase downs, I've got him. I missed the lightning arm, but I'm able to get the plunge attack immediately after. Now, I saw this Drain Twin Spear, and I thought, man, I'm going to parry the absolute crap out of this dude, because until this invasion, honest to God, I'm not sure I've ever faced the Twin Spears and not been able to parry it like almost every attack the person that did. But this guy, he actually mixed up the attacks and the timings pretty well. You see me go for a kind of a prediction parry there. After the rolling, I was expecting the rolling attack there, but he mixed up his timings. I never parried him. I was shocked. Now here you can see I missed an opportunity with the Destructo Disc. There's hit stun in the Destructo Disc right there, and in the hit stun there would have been a chance to run around for the backstab actually, but instead I didn't have a read on the disc at the time, and I just wasn't able to capitalize. This guy taking it to me with the Drain Twin Spears. GG. I mean, I have this problem too. I'd say like he was a pretty good player. He was kind of prone to panic rolling, which is it happens to all of us, but and I'm not one to criticize on that basis. But I was able to, I think, do more damage to him than I might have otherwise if he hadn't panic rolled in a few situations. Here I'm finally able to finish him off with a trade, throw a lightning out of frustration of my inability to parry him. But now it's just a solo host, and frequently in situations like this, I will take this time to practice. Not that I'm not concerned with winning, but it's not my primary concern. I'm more willing to kind of experiment with parries or backstabs than I might be during the regular part of the invasion, where, I still do, and you've seen in the video already, I do some critical fishing to try to eliminate phantoms, but it's safer, obviously, for me to practice when there's only one opponent. So I'll try stuff that I wouldn't normally do during the course of an invasion. And I kind of recommend that people do that to the extent they're trying to learn, parries or backstabs. Like one-on-ones versus a host are as good a time as any. I know a lot of invaders do that in the arena. I don't do the arena anymore. And so these kind of invasion situations are where I choose to practice my techniques. Here I get the unlocked backstab. Always satisfying. And you can see I'm doing a lot of kind of foolish things. I swing into his hyper armor a lot. I go for bad parries. But that's fine. It's all kind of in the service of kind of experimenting with things. Some of it's just sloppy play. I'm not gonna pretend like everything I did here was just because I was experimenting, but I definitely play kind of a little more loose in situations like this. I'm down to my last Estus. And so I kind of experiment a little bit more with something a bit different. And that is the dagger's power to interrupt hyper armor frames. And I'm so close to the host that when he swings, I'm able to do a really simple circle strafe backstab to finish him off. But GG, host. So this time we spawn much farther into the level, down by the giant. Do an accidental Way of White Corona while we get our passive regen going. We've got Wolnir's Holy Sword. Not a great weapon. Does decent physical damage though. So we've got the overlevel Phantom Friend of the host. Not really sure why he retreated back here. He didn't really make any use of the elevator. And here, if I'd just been a little closer, I might have been able to pull off the weapon art there, but just too far away to do any damage. And here I stupidly try to do it right in front of the Phantom's face, which is just never going to work. The hyper armor frames take too long to get going. It's a really difficult weapon art to use kind of offensively. So here I assume the Phantom retreated just to kind of make sure he's protecting his host. And we've got a blue on the scene. So now we are significantly outnumbered. We still have the giant around as kind of a distraction, but this is not ideal. Blue goes for the turn and burn boulder heave, which is way too slow for kind of that purpose. And this time my roll take a little chip damage from the giant. And I kind of decide, I will say before I finish that thought, the Phantom was doing a good job of not spamming, other than that one time in the hallway, where I think it was actually not a bad idea. The Phantom is not doing a spamming of the L1s on the Fair and Great Sword. So it's been pretty effective. He gets in his chip damage or his L1 attack and then backs out again, which is a little bit difficult to respond to actually. So since I was outnumbered, I take the time to try to get a more advantageous position. And so my thinking was I would go up here further into the level, basically on the bridge, and try to use the fact that I know I have Silver Cat Ring. There's a decent chance that one or more of the members of that party don't. And so I kind of move out to the bridge, get my Perseverance weapon equipped so that I can kind of make a stand on the bridge and hope that maybe one of them falls off to their deaths, or I can separate the party, stuff like that. So again, I get my passive regen going, the party kind of makes their way down. I don't have the obscuring ring on, given my ring slot availability, so I kind of hide behind the corner here for a little while. But the white makes his way out, so I come out to challenge, hit Perseverance, and as predicted he falls off right away, but doesn't die. Host follows, takes a lot of damage but doesn't die. The blue chooses to go around the other way. I guess he must just not have had Silver Cat available. Not entirely sure why he went around that way. But here I take the opportunity to get this nice verticality attack, but which was sweet and well timed, but I put myself in a really bad position here. There are no mobs, and I can retreat to the ladder, but it's also very easy for them to knock me off. They're just right; they would be right on my tails at this point. And now you see the White Phantom is doing a good job of not over spamming the weapon art, like the L1. He keeps roll catching me. I get cut in the blender, and again he basically roll catches me with the L1. So pretty controlled use of the L1 by the Phantom there caused me a lot of problems. GG. Alright, so this time we're spawning in the Profane capital, another level I really enjoy invading in. It's got lots of really interesting aspects to its layout that kind of can make invasions a lot of fun. There's the hallways with the potholes, there's all that verticality over in the swamp. It's good stuff. So here we see a pretty terrifying gold phantom hovering all over the place. So the goal right now, we don't see the host, but we assume he's hiding somewhere, but I wanted to kill him, the phantom, just as soon as possible. I didn't want to have to deal with this kind of lag and the host. So the host was kind of cleverly hiding inside Gilligan. But I'm able to finish off the Phantom before I get backstabbed by the host. Now, Pickle Sickle here is being super, super aggressive, and I think I can use this to my advantage. So I do the old Estus Chug parry bait. And indeed, he was super aggressive. So it was a pretty easy parry to pull off. But GG, Pickle Sickle. Alright, so the last invasion in this video is a pretty nice long one here in Central Irithyll. So we see right away we've got Host and the Phantom both with Vort's Great Hammer, which is can be a pretty dangerous combo. It's easy enough to roll a single Ultra. It is more difficult to roll two Ultras if they are effectively staggering their attacks, and Vort's has the additional complication of the frostbite, as we just witnessed there, because it builds even if you're not getting hit. So if you've got two people with that frostbite meter building, it doesn't take much to start getting that to proc. So that was something I was very cognizant of when I was fighting both these guys. You can see I'm trying to check where the host is in relation to this Phantom. I go for the unlock backstab, roll backstab. I don't hit it there. You'll see me using that strategy a lot in this invasion. There are other ways to fight Ultras. You can space them, obviously. And I certainly have weapons at my disposal. Saint's Bite in particular is pretty useful in terms of spacing. Here you see me pull off the unlock backstab. Never get tired of those. But I'm also using the Saint's Bite in. So I really enjoy fighting Ultras using the roll backstabs. I'm not sure I'd say it's like the better way to do it, but I find it more comfortable for me. So you'll frequently see me going for roll backstabs instead of kind of spacing the attacks with like the Saint's Bite in. I think I do a bit of both here, but for the most part, I try these days to work on my roll backstabs. Whether that's always the best strategy, I guess is a different question. It's a strategy I find fun at this point in time, so that's the one I use. So me and my red friend here are trying to kind of hold this choke point. Might have served us well to kind of back up a little bit to get the enemies more directly involved. Here, I could have used the heal as a bait. You see the host came charging in. I could have used that opportunity to go for a roll backstab, but instead I backed off. So I think that was an opportunity kind of wasted there. Here I'm using lightning urns to try to get some pressure off of my fellow red. This blue with the Black Knight shield kind of seems a little underprepared for PvP. Maybe a little new. We got that crazy Wolf Knight greatsword weapon art out of neutral from like miles away. So he's clearly someone that's not too experienced, and so once he gets separated, I take the opportunity to finish him off quickly. It means 2 assists for us and 1 less opponent. But this other blue was pretty decent. You can see he's a lot more careful. His movement's a little more fluid, dynamic than the other blues was. The host is kind of wigging out a little bit for a while here because of the lag that happens when the other blue is leaving the world. So I kept my distance for a while. Lag plus Great Hammer is no fun. So they're really focusing on my fellow red, and what I was trying to do in this sequence was trying to get unlocked backstabs, which in circumstances like this I usually have some success with, but you'll see me whiff quite a few. I think in retrospect I might have been better served just trying to do some R1 damage with my Bident rather than fishing for the unlocked backstab, but in the moment it seemed like a way to try to kind of, you know, delete a phantom pretty quickly. Just didn't work out. Here you can see it just I think if I had unlocked on that one I would have gotten it, but I was still locked on, so I whiffed the backstab. Here, man, the blue almost catches me with a backstab. That would have been potentially pretty problematic. Now, one problem with the red and I trying to hold this choke point is it does create kind of more danger of us hurting each other. So you see the red accidentally locks onto me there and almost almost does a ton of damage to me. And here he does do a ton of damage to me because he was trying to hit the blue and clip me as I was kind of rolling back for safety. But, you know, these things happen when you've got a fellow invader. I think because of the fact that he had damaged me, he kind of tries to get some separation from me here, going into the party. He gets himself in some trouble. I try to come in to help him, but I get myself in a ton of trouble almost immediately. So we're kind of getting worked right now, honestly. Here I'm just whiffing all these unlocked backstabs. It was driving me crazy. Again, man, that one looked pretty good. Red gets isolated. Red gets taken out. GG, fellow red. Sorry I didn't do more to help you here. So now that my fellow red is gone, this is when I go back into the level. There's no reason for me to engage 3 people in a like a mob desert. There is just nothing there to help me. So I bring them further into the level. The blue is being super aggressive, as they often are. So I backtrack here to try to take on this phantom while he's alone. Finally I'm able to get that sweet unlock backstab and remove him from this fight. So I take a little damage because of the lag from when the phantom left the world. Got a friend on the way, so we're moving rapidly from a 3v1 to a 2v2, so things are looking a lot better already. Some weird kind of lag spike from the blue there. It kind of screwed up my spacing as I went for the running attack, and he's able to punish it. This blue gets a nice little setup parry off the red. Red almost gets deleted. That has a lot of damage. Fortunately for me, wasn't quite enough to do away with him. And the blue wasn't quite aggressive enough in finishing him off. There, I thought I could get the R1 and roll out before he made contact, but I either didn't hit roll soon enough or just mistimed the R1. There, I'm able to kind of come in, assist the red, finish off the blue. So now we're sitting pretty. Now we're off to the Resummoner Olympics. And the red and I worked pretty well here. We don't get in each other's way. Red goes for a pretty nice plunge attack, just misses it, but that was a good idea. So here the red and I are just trying to finish off this host before he has a chance to resummon his friend. Resummon timers don't apply to password summon phantoms, but even if they did, his buddy had been killed a long time ago, so he would be able to find his sign pretty quickly. But there I'm able to interrupt his Estus, and that's pretty much it. GG fellow red, and good game everybody. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I plan to keep making these, so take care, and I'll see you around.